Sarah Dallif. Hurricane Harvey appears to have given the White House an opportunity for a weekend news dump. First, it was the presidential pardon of Sheriff Joe Arpaio. It happened after the 85-year-old former law official in Maricopa County, Arizona, was convicted after ignoring a judge's order to stop rounding up people he suspected of being illegal immigrants. The White House said in part, quote, after more than 50 years of admirable service to our nation, he is worthy candidate for presidential pardon. Also Friday, the president made the ban of transgender troops official, signing an order that directs the Pentagon to move forward on the ban, but it remains unclear what will happen to transgender personnel currently serving. The order also bans the Defense Department from providing medical treatment to transgender service members. And to top it off, there's the ousting of Sebastian Gorka, a deputy advisor to the president who had ties to far-right political groups and called Islam an inherently violent religion. And also on Friday, special counsel Robert Mueller's team issued subpoenas seeking testimony from multiple public relations executives tied to ex-Trump campaign head Paul Manafort. I want to bring in Ray Suarez, a veteran journalist and currently a visiting professor at Amherst College, and Jason Johnson, politics editor for The Root. Let me start with you, Jason. I marched on Sheriff Arpaio and debated him on several occasions. Let's be clear that he was convicted of racial profiling. Yes. I mean, he was profiling Latinos, yes, pulling them over and checking out whether they were immigrants, many of them American citizens, American-born citizens. Yes. For the president to issue his first pardon to someone that was convicted, not just accused, convicted of racial profiling 3 weeks after Charlottesville. What does this mean?
I've been saying this all along, Rev. The President of the United States is a terrorist sympathizer. He sympathizes with far-right groups. He sympathizes with white nationalists. And this is just par for the course for a president who has this kind of belief system. It's not just a matter of racial profiling. It's not just a matter of just rounding up Latinos whenever he did some sort of raid and not paying attention. It's the people who died in his prisons. It's the abuse of women. It's putting cameras in women's bathrooms. This man was a living, walking violation of human rights, the likes of which we haven't seen since Sheriff Clark up there in Wisconsin. So the fact that the President of the United States wants to use his pardon power for this kind of person is a symbolic message that he has no integrity about pardons, and we have to be very, very careful going down the road as to what kind of behavior he's going to try and cover for.
Ray, give me a sense of, and as I had gone to Arizona many times rallying around this issue in particular, if you're Latino or even look like you're Latino, what kind of fear did you live with under Sheriff Arpaio? And now to see him become one that is pardoned for those deeds and act as if what he did was admirable. I mean, not only pardoned, but praised as the first pardon that this president issued. Ray, give me a sense of how it is for Latinos to have lived under him and how they must be feeling, many of them this morning in Arizona and around the country.
Well, Sheriff Joe Arpaio was very proud of the label that he, in part, gave himself, but also cultivated over the years as America's toughest sheriff. And basically, it meant, in many cases, running the Maricopa County system as a personal law enforcement fiefdom. He did not respond to orders from federal judges. He did not respond when the Justice Department told him on occasions to stop doing the things he was doing. And when the Arizona State Legislature passed SB 1070, basically making local police departments part of the immigration enforcement system in the state of Arizona, he very vigorously and enthusiastically jumped in and maintained his police department's posture even after SB 1070 was shot down by the Supreme Court. He was a man who was running his own world, and in an Arizona where the fraction of the population that's represented by Latinos grows with every census. This is a state that's uncomfortable with the fact that it's going to be someday a majority-minority state once again.
Yeah.
And the police were pretty tough.
Now I understand from reports, I believe in this morning's Washington Post, that the president had even engaged in conversation with Attorney General Sessions on trying to stop the case on Arpaio. Do you have any background on that, Ray? And what are the implications of that?
Well, it shows a president who, I guess you could say he doesn't understand, because perhaps he's as little experienced as he is with the way the system is structured. It's a very unconventional thing for a president to interfere with an already ongoing investigation and prosecution. Joe Arpaio has been under continuous investigation since the George W. Bush administration. Even though the prosecution was dismissed as political and biased by both Donald Trump and Joe Arpaio himself, this is something that has been going on under Republican and Democratic administrations, and a president of the United States sought to influence the Attorney General about an ongoing investigation and prosecution. It is very, very unusual. Is it illegal? Well, it lives in a sort of gray area, but it's certainly not the normal practice for a president and an attorney general.
Now, you know, Jason, when we look at this, and as all kinds of Americans are watching us this morning, if you can be admired and pardoned for racial profiling of Latinos, you can be pardoned and you can be admired for racially profiling anybody, blacks, Asians, people of different sexes. I mean, this is a dangerous precedent that is being set here.
Well, like I said, it's, excuse me, Rev, you know, it's akin to terrorism. If you think about the law enforcement people that we've heard Donald Trump admire throughout the time of his presidency, Rudy Giuliani, Sheriff Clark, and Joe Arpaio. It's very clear that his perception of law enforcement is a way to reinforce violence against people of color, violence against those he considers to not be true Americans, and violence against those people who might one day rise up against him politically. And that's what this is all about. Look, it's not even that important. It's not like Arpaio was in jail and he was taking him out. But I think this goes even further, Rev, and this is the problem. If he's going to use his pardoning power this early in his administration for someone who was clearly wronged by several federal judges from two different convicted, yeah. Imagine what he'll do the moment anything starts to happen.
Well,
chips fall in
but
Russia.
It's 3 weeks after he made this, there were good people on both sides.
Right.
There was violence on both sides. I mean, Charlottesville just happened.
Yes.
And you're going to pardon someone for racial profile. Then the transgender thing, we're out of time, but to come with this kind of declaration on transgender people in the military while you're talking about engaging in Afghanistan. The signal there, again, divisiveness.
Divisiveness, and I don't care about people in Texas. I don't care about the law. I don't care about the rule of law, and I don't care about political norms. That is the president we have right now. That is the president we must be vigilant about watching his behavior, because he does not care about bringing this country together or letting this country function. He only cares about his personal biases and bigotry.
And we're watching this, Ray. I'm really out of time, but we're watching this, Ray, while the nation is praying because a level 4 hurricane was hitting Texas at the time he issues this pardon and signs this declaration to the Defense Department. In the middle of a hurricane, the biggest we've seen in Texas in decades, this is what the president does.
Well, it's an old Washington custom to dump big news after 5 o'clock on a Friday, but it rarely comes, as you say, in the middle of one of the worst hurricanes in the century so far. Yeah, it's incredible.
All right. Thank you, Ray Suarez and Jason Johnson. Coming up.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.